Hey guys, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Michelle, and today I'm going to be sharing something so personal that I have literally prayed about for so long and have thought about doing it and just feel like it's never been the right time to share it. And as I'm doing it, I'm going to be doing a quick little get ready with me using my all-in-one makeup palette right here with all of my products that I need all in one convenient place. So that just kind of will help me so that I'm kind of distracted and don't get so anxious or emotional, even though emotions aren't bad, but I just want to be able to talk through this because I'm not going to edit this video out at all. Like, this is going to be me talking straight through and just telling you what it's all about. So if you don't know, the month of March is Endometriosis Awareness Month. And endometriosis is kind of, they call it like a hidden disease. And something that a lot of women go through and don't even know that they have it. And I'll talk a little more in depth about it. So I wanted to share my story because 1 in 10 women have endometriosis, and I just happen to be one of 10 women who have it. So I wanted to just bring awareness and let you know what it is and what the symptoms are and whatnot, and just to let you know so that if you also feel the same way I do, you can get yourself checked out and get yourself taken care of. So I tried doing this live and I couldn't. Just the anxiety of knowing that people are watching me as I'm filming was too much. So this is way easier. I don't know why. Like, whenever I'm filming, like talking to just me and my camera, it's just like there's no one here, so it doesn't feel as bad. But whenever I know people are actually watching me, I just get so much more nervous and get a lot more anxious. So anyways, I'm gonna start doing my makeup as I talk. So basically, like I was saying, endometriosis is, a lot of women don't actually know about it, which is why we are bringing awareness to it, so that more people are informed and actually get themselves taken care of. So it is something, if you're a guy, you're probably gonna wanna leave this video because I'm gonna be talking about menstrual cycles. Let's just keep it real. We're going to be talking about it. That's it. It's happening. So it is a, basically, as women, every single month we get our periods. And when you get your period, the lining of your uterus and all that stuff sheds and it causes you to cramp and whatnot. But what happens with the endometriosis, people with it, is they actually have tissues, endometrial tissues, because that's what we shed every single month, but we have it that grow outside of where it's supposed to be, which is our uterus. So not only do we have some in our uterus, but we also have it in other places. And the thing is, the only opening that can shed anything out is from your cervix or your uterus. I know it's getting very graphic, but I told you I was going to talk very in depth about it. So whenever the endometrial tissues that are outside of your uterus try to shed, it's extremely painful because there's nowhere for it to go, and it gets very inflamed, and it just makes matters a lot worse because, you have something inside your body that's not supposed to be there. And anytime you feel pain, it's because something is wrong with your body, and your body is telling you, hey, something's wrong. This isn't okay. Get me taken care of, So that's basically the gist of what endometriosis is. So I had never heard about endometriosis until I was probably 22 years old. And I had a friend who had it, and I was talking to her because she had gotten pregnant and was told that she was gonna have a hard time conceiving because she has endometriosis. And usually women with endometriosis, one of the symptoms, or I guess you could say symptoms, is infertility. Like, that's a sign of you having endometriosis because the scar tissue and stuff like that can cause infertility. It just can make it a lot harder for you to get pregnant because it's just blocking certain tubes and whatnot that shouldn't be blocked and making it harder for you to get pregnant. So she was talking to me about it, and hold on, I need to back up. Before all that, okay, oh my gosh, this is all over the place. So I always had really painful periods. This is why I wrote everything down so I wouldn't get sidetracked. So I always had really painful periods growing up. Like when I tell you excruciating, like I thought everyone just got it as bad as me. I still remember the first time I got my period. I was 12 years old. I was in middle school. I was in home ec. And I remember sitting on the floor in agonizing pain. I had already taken like some Tylenol and stuff that my mom gave me, or Midol, I don't know what it was. And I remember that I was sitting on the floor in agonizing pain, and my friend is like, "Are you okay? You don't look okay." And I'm like, "I'll be fine." You know, I'm trying to toughen it up because I was always kind of like a tough kid. Like I never, like, yeah, you know, I got hurt a lot because I'm clumsy. But I never let the pain, like I didn't want people to think I was weak. I wanted them to think I was strong. So I always sucked it up, even though I wanted to cry so bad. And I remember when I was in 7th grade, I used to get sent home early because I would bleed so much that it would go through my pants by, not even by the end of first period. Like it was that bad. It was so heavy and so painful, so painful. My nurse knew me. That's how much I was at the nurse's office because I was there every single month. And the worst part was like my periods lasted 2 weeks. So I thought it was just normal. I went to the doctors, told them all about it, and they're like, "Oh, well, you're still so young, you know, and it's normal for your periods to be all over the place and for you not to like have it all regular. Like you'll get regular as you start getting older." So then I remember when I was in 8th grade was the first time that I had a really painful period. And I actually, like, my periods went from being 2 weeks long to being 5 days long. They were very regular. I got them every 28 days, like clockwork. But I remember when they got shorter, that my periods would be way more painful. And it was so painful one day. I remember I was in math class and I ran out of math class because I had to throw up because I was just in so much pain and I just threw up all over the place. And I got sent home early because they thought I had like stomach flu or something, but it was really just that I was in that much pain. So every single month I would get my period and it was that bad where every month I threw up. And there was some times where I'd get so weak from how much blood I was losing at such a rapid rate that I would pass out from the pain and just how severe it was. So, you know, again, I went and got checked out and my doctor recommended I go on either birth control to regulate myself or just like, you know, kind of manage my pain with over-the-counter medication, which is the route that I chose to take. And I still like most of the time always had a bad period. There was rarely ever a day that I didn't have a bad period. And I had to keep up with my like cramps, like before they even happened. Like I had to know that I was going to get my period and start taking Advil like before it actually started is what I'm trying to say. Sorry. So anyway, and I switched from Tylenol and Midol to Advil because Advil was the only thing that worked. And even then it still didn't work because taking only 2, which is the recommended amount, was not enough for how much pain I was in. So fast forward to when I turned 22. So I'm still dealing with these really painful periods. I'm working and having to suck it up because unfortunately I can't take off every single month whenever I get my period. Like I just have to suck it up and be okay with it. I actually wasn't going to do this, but whatever. We're starting with our face, I guess. So anyway, I started getting like random bleeding. Like I would always spot right before my period, so I always knew when it was coming, but I just started bleeding a lot more and it lasted for way longer and it started coming way earlier. So like basically in the middle of my cycle is when I started bleeding. And then a few months later, that bleeding was accompanied by sharp pain. So at the time I had just gotten married and, you know, my husband and I wanted to have kids right away when I first got married because I just love kids so much and I always knew I wanted to be a mom and that was something that I wanted to do. But, you know, we were married for like 8 months and I still wasn't getting pregnant and I just was having all this pain and this like random bleeding. So I Went to the doctors because it was just becoming like too much. And I went to the doctors and I told them about it. And they basically told me, because I was 22, that it was normal, that I'm still really young and that my body's trying to normalize itself. So it's totally normal. And then I straight up told her, I'm like, this is not normal. I've never experienced this in my life. I've had really, really painful periods my entire life. And I've been told that was normal, but this right here is not normal. I've never experienced this before, and I demand to get this checked out. Like, I'm just not gonna leave here without you guys getting me checked out. So then she was like, okay, well, if you really, really want to, we can schedule an ultrasound for you and just kind of see what's going on. And I'm like, yes, I would like that very, very much. So I go and get my ultrasound, and I had to wait like a week or so to get the results. And when I got the results, they tell me that they found a huge mass near my ovaries. It was like about 9 centimeters, which is pretty big. 9 centimeters is like about that big, more or less. So it's pretty big, like the size of an orange, more or less. So she tells me that I have this mass, but that it's normal. Again, it's all normal. Like basically saying that this happens to a lot of people. That's what they mean whenever they say it's normal. It's not that it's like this should be happening to your body. It's more like that you're not alone. This happens to a lot of other people. And they basically diagnosed me with fibroids at first. They're like, it just seems like it's probably fibroids, which can make sense why you're having the sharp pains and why, you know, you're randomly bleeding, because if your fibroid starts getting too big, it can start pushing on things and causing you to bleed and all this other stuff. So of course I believe them. So then they tell me, okay, we need you to go to a specialist because you're gonna have to get surgery to remove it. And I'm totally fine with that, because I'm like, whatever I need to do to get this pain taken care of and so that I can actually start a family, I will do. I will do whatever I need to do. So at the time, I don't have insurance, and I was paying everything out of pocket. So I go to a few specialists and I literally get turned down because of the fact that I didn't have insurance. And they told me that it was going to be way too expensive for me to afford it on my own, so that I was going to have to find either someone else or get insurance that's going to cover it. So I got turned down probably by like 3 or 4 clinics that wouldn't take me. So then finally I find my doctor, who has like, he definitely does self-pay, and he does insurance. For self-pay, it was like $100 a visit, which was fine. I'm like, whatever I need to do to get this taken care of. So I go and I start telling him my symptoms, and he literally, so this goes back to my friend telling me about endometriosis. He tells me, oh, it sounds like you have endometriosis. And when I like look, I'm looking at him like, no, they told me I have fibroids. There's no way I have endometriosis. Like I have fibroids. It can't be endometriosis. And he's like, nope, it sounds just like endometriosis. I actually deal with a lot of patients that have this. And it's something that's really not a lot of people know about it. So it can easily get misdiagnosed. So then he's like, I'm going to do some blood work on you and I'm going to get you tested, because I want to make sure that it is endometriosis. This specific blood test that I'm going to do, it's not going to tell me that you have endometriosis, but it will test your white blood count, your white blood cell count. And if it is a certain number, it's usually an indicator that you have endometriosis, because basically it's an autoimmune disease. So your body is trying to build up white blood cells to fight the endometrial tissues that are forming where they shouldn't be formed, which is why, again, it hurts. So then, you know, I do the blood test, whatever. They call me back, tell me, hey, we have your results. We need you to come in. So then I come in, and then he tells me, yep, I was right. Your white blood cell count is at this number, and I believe you have endometriosis. So your next step is we want you to get another ultrasound. This was like probably 9 months later. So they wanted me to get another ultrasound just to see if the mass is growing. And if it is, he recommends me taking it out. If it wasn't, he was going to just recommend me being put on treatment, basically. So hormone replacement treatment. So I go and I get my ultrasound done and come back, and he tells me it's grown quite a bit. It's grown 4 centimeters since your last ultrasound, and it's getting really, really big. and I'm 60% sure that it is destroying your right ovary. Like, it is plastering it down because of where it's at. I can't really tell 100% from the ultrasound, but if we do what they call an exploratory laparotomy, which is when they cut you open, they literally explore everything to see, they can definitely diagnose me that way and, you know, clean out any endometrial tissue that I have and see if that mass was destroying my ovary or not. So he told me if it is destroying the ovary, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it. You'll still have your left ovary, but we would have to take out your right one. So I told him it was fine, that I would do it, you know, whatever it is that I need to do, because again, I wanted to have kids. So I get scheduled for my appointment. I don't have insurance, so I literally, like, my sister-in-laws helped me raise up money to pay for the surgery, because I had to pay up front for the doctor's fee, and then I also had to pay for the hospital visit, which I ended up actually getting that taken care of through this really amazing program with the hospital that I was getting my surgery at. So then I get the surgery and I wake up, I'm in the room, whatever, and trying to recover. And he comes in the next day and he tells me, so yeah, it was actually way worse and more severe than I thought. He didn't necessarily tell me that I had stage 4 endometriosis, but just from the way he was speaking, it seemed that way. So endometriosis, you have 4 different stages. If you have stage 1, 2, 3, or 4, just depending on how severe it is which stage you are at. I think it was either 3 or 4, because just from his description, it seemed like 3, because stage 4 is basically where, like, your whole entire body is covered with endometrial tissues. And he told me that it was mostly just in my uterus, around my tubes, and definitely the mass that was near my ovary. And they did have to surgically remove that right ovary. But again, I do have my left ovary. So he told me that I'll still be getting my periods like normal. I'll still ovulate like normal. So all of that was at least, you know, very hopeful. But then he tells me the bad news. He's like, it was so bad that literally, unless if you get in vitro fertilization, you're never gonna get pregnant. Like, you have a 1%, less than a 1% chance to get pregnant. And it's always the hardest part to talk about, is that I never really share that with anybody, because reliving that moment, sorry, like I said, this is like the hardest part to talk about. Reliving that moment, I hate reliving that moment. I hate it so much, because he was really rude about it too. Like, it wasn't that he was rude, but he was just such a blunt doctor, and he didn't really have, like, I think it's because he just had so many patients, and he didn't really have sympathy for me. So it was kind of like, yeah, so you have less than a 1% chance of ever getting pregnant. So I will give you this medication for your pain, and I will see you next week. And then he left. So that's basically how it was. So it's not like he even, like, tried to be compassionate about it. Like, my hopes and dreams were literally crushed at that moment. And I just remember, like, you know, almost like being in so much shock that I didn't really process it all the way, until later on that day. My best friend comes and she brings me food, and we're just talking, and I'm talking to my husband about something, and then I just start having a breakdown. I just start crying because my husband told me no about something. And I wasn't even crying because he told me no. It was just literally like, it was like, you know, of course I got upset that he told me no, but I got so upset that it pushed me to express the emotions of my upsetness from earlier that I hadn't expressed already. So I was literally in tears, and he's like, are you crying because I told you no? And I told him, no, I'm not crying because you told me no. I'm crying because I was just literally told that I might never have my own kids, and it's literally, my hopes and dreams are crushed. I'm only 22 years old. How can this be happening to me? You know, so I was definitely bitter, definitely grew a lot of resentment. And it wasn't that I was mad at God, because I wasn't. You know, I did question, like, why me, God? What did I do to deserve this? you know, and I also questioned myself like, man, if I would have gotten this taken care of when I was younger, if I would have been more persistent, maybe I wouldn't be going through what I'm going through right now. So anyway, yeah, so I end up going to see him again, you know, and then he's telling me, he's asking me how I'm doing and all that stuff. And, you know, my periods had gotten a little bit better, so they weren't as painful. I wasn't getting the mid-cycle pain or bleeding like I was before. So definitely the surgery helped a lot to ease my pain. And he told me basically like, my suggestion for you is to get put on birth control. Because even though I know you want to have kids, until you're ready to get in vitro, I highly recommend you get put on birth control, because it'll just help to regulate your hormones, help to regulate your periods, not make them as painful. And then whenever you're ready to get in vitro fertilization, then that's when we can take you off the birth control. So originally I was like, you know, I don't know if I want to do that, because in vitro is like $15,000 or whatever the heck it is. And I didn't have that, obviously. I mean, I was paying things out of pocket, but I could afford my doctor's visits. I couldn't afford $13,000 or $15,000 for in vitro. So I'm over here trying to get grants and all this other stuff and trying to figure it all out. And at first I was going to go that route. And, you know, I got put on the birth control, but it was like the worst decision of my life, because it just messed up my cycle completely. Like, I wasn't in pain, but I was bleeding the entire time that I was on birth control. And it just felt like, you know, it was happening all over again. So I made the executive decision to quit the birth control and just let things happen on their own. Even though I knew that it was going to mess up my hormones, and the more hormones I have, the more likely I am to, you know, have my endometrial tissues come back. Because that's the thing with endometriosis, it is incurable. So even though I got surgery that removed what I had in my body, that didn't mean that it wasn't going to come back. That just meant that, you know, for right now, it's all gone, but it is going to come back. Every time I get my period, the hormones that I release during my period is what makes the endometrial tissues form, which is estrogen, in case if you're wondering. So anyways, yeah, so I get off the birth control because I hated what it was doing for my body. I hated the way it was like making me feel. And I made the executive decision to get off the birth control. And I was like, this is probably like 2 years after my surgery at this point, or 2 years after me first going to the doctors in the first place. So now we're at 2 years, still no baby. I still like, I'm not getting pregnant. And I'm like so salty and so bitter, because everyone around me is getting pregnant, and it's people that didn't even want to like have babies were getting pregnant. And they were complaining to me the entire time. And I'm like, why is this my cross to carry? Why is this like what I have to deal with? Why are these people telling me this? Like, I'm trying to be supportive for them, but they don't even freaking want the baby. So why would I even be supportive of them? Like, why can't it be me, God? Like, I actually want to have a kid, and I can't be happy for them because they don't even want a kid, and they're just complaining the entire time. How can I be happy for someone like that? So then I remember this one day we went to church, and I didn't want to go, but I decided, you know, whatever, I'll just go, because I was in a mood. Again, like I said, I grew a lot of bitterness, a lot of like saltiness, and it wasn't really about anyone else other than myself, because I was like, why not me, basically. So it was like more of jealousy, you know. So anyway, I go to church this day, and I remember the pastor was talking about this, he was in his sermon, he was talking about how we need to celebrate other people's lives, other people's blessings, so that we can eventually, like, so that God can bless us. Because if we are jealous of their blessings, why would God bless us with something, you know? So something along that line. I'm probably totally butchering it, but that's basically what I got from it. And it literally just shifted my whole mindset and my perspective. And made me see like, dang, like I'm over here being so jealous, and I can't even celebrate the fact that my friend is pregnant. You know, even though she wasn't like trying to get pregnant, she's still pregnant, and she's bringing in life. And like, I felt so bad because I probably treated a lot of people really poorly during that time when I was really bitter and salty. And it was just because it was hard for me to be happy for someone else when I wasn't even happy myself. So I definitely felt like this sense of freedom at that moment, and just a sense of like, you know, God really checked me. He was telling me basically like, you need to be happy for other people, because I'm not going to bless you if you can't even be happy for other people's blessings. Like, why are you not okay? He wasn't really like saying that, but you know, it's just like why would, like, I don't know, basically just, I don't know how to get my words together here, but just really freed me and just really made me change my perspective. Like, why am I being so salty? Like, then when I get blessed, like, will people even like be as excited, or will they celebrate me? You know? So it was kind of like you reap what you sow type of a thing. And I wasn't sowing anything good. So I needed to change my perspective. I needed to change my attitude. And it was really, really hard. I'm not going to lie. There was still moments and days where I would cry, you know, because I'm like, oh crap, here I go again, getting my period. Or here we go again. Susie over here is getting pregnant for the 10th time. And little old me can't even get pregnant once. And I've taken an abundance of pregnancy tests, so many pregnancy tests, and so many of them, all of them came back negative. And it was something really, really hard to like deal with. But you know, just being hopeful, and God has really just used so many people to talk to me and to minister to me and let me like know not to lose hope in those moments where, you know, I get my period again, or I get another negative pregnancy test, or whatever the case may be. Like, he's just constantly using other people to remind me that he hasn't forgotten about me, that he still remembers what he has for me, what he's promised me, and that it's still gonna happen, you know. And one thing that I've really battled is actually being open about it, because I don't want people to see me as weak. I don't want people to pity me. I don't want people to feel bad for me. And that's not the mindset that I should be having. Instead, what I should be having is a sense of community, a sense of like a group of people that'll be there for me, you know, and celebrate me when that time comes, you know. And my husband and I have been married for almost 6 years now. And no, I'm not pregnant. Just in case you thought that's where this was leading to, it's not. It's just me bringing awareness to this invisible disease, I guess you could say. And, you know, just letting you know that if you experience any of the anything similar to what I've experienced, to get yourself checked out. If you're having periods that are uncontrollably painful, that nothing that you do makes it feel better, if you're like having to miss work, if you're throwing up, if you're literally not even a heating pad helps, like, if you are experiencing that, don't get fooled and get told that it's normal. You know, get yourself checked out, because it's not normal. It's not. It's not the way that our bodies were made to happen. And they're still, you know, researching endometriosis and trying to find a cure for it. But at the moment, you know, it's still so new that people don't even know about it. I mean, I didn't even know about it until 5 years ago. So it's still so new. And even when I tell people about it too, about me having it, like when they see me in a bad mood or like crying or whatever the case may be. Oh crap. When they see me in a bad mood or crying or whatever the case may be, I just let them know, you know, this is why I feel this way, is because I have this and this is what it does to my body. And, you know, basically I literally feel like I have finished fighting a battle after I finish my period, because I'm so exhausted and so emotionally and physically drained that I just am like, I'm just like, I'm just done. I'm done. I'm so tired. I don't want to talk to anybody. So anyway, you know, and I'm still extremely hopeful. One thing that I did mention today that really helps me get through it is just remembering God's goodness in my life, and how even though right now I might not have a kid. I think about all the things that we've been through in our life together as a married couple, and how, you know, if I would have had a kid, how differently our life would have been, and maybe how it wouldn't have been the best thing for me, because God only wants the best for you, and he only is going to give you the things that you can handle at the moment that you can. And even in those moments when you think that you can handle it, he knows you more than you know yourself. He knows your future, and he knows what life is gonna, you know, what kind of curveballs life is gonna throw at you. And what matters is the way that we handle those curveballs that life throws at us. So, you know, I've been reading my Bible more and just reading what God says, and that really helps me to find a sense of peace. And even in those moments when I am in agonizing pain, and I'm like, this is happening again, I'm gonna have to get surgery again, I don't want to get surgery, like all these things, I just read his word and I just find this sense of peace. And it's this peace that only God can give. No one else can give it. And it makes no sense, literally. It's not that God makes all my pain go away. It's just that he gives me this sense of peace to be able to deal with the pain. You know, I've dealt with it for, I don't know, almost like 16, 17 years of my life. And I am still alive. I'm still standing. And I know that God's going to use me in such a great way. And I know that at the perfect time, God is going to bless me and my husband with that child that we desire. And I know that he can do the impossible. Even though right now science says that it's incurable and that it will never go away, I still believe that God can, if that's what his will is, that he can heal me. You know, like recently, one of my friends prayed over me and I felt this sense of healing. And ever since then, my periods have still been really painful, but not as painful as they usually are. Like I actually can manage them enough. I can actually go to work and not miss work. And it's just because I trust God and I believe in him, and I know that he is going to bless me. And at the end of the day, you know, even if he doesn't, this story right here is going to impact someone. It's going to let you know, if you are dealing with the same thing, that you are not alone. You know, you have someone that you can talk to, someone that you can confide in. Someone who probably feels exactly the same exact way that you do. You're not alone. Because that was one thing I dealt with, is I felt like I was alone because everyone around me was getting pregnant. Everyone around me, you know, doesn't throw up every single month on their period, or pass out, or get fevers even, or get what they call endobelly, where it looks like you're 6 months pregnant, when in reality it's just that you're so inflamed and swollen that your stomach looks huge. You know, like I'm not the only one who is dealing with it, and I know that. And I just want you to know that you're not the only one that's dealing with it either. That if it's something that you're dealing with, even if you don't have endometriosis, maybe you're just dealing with infertility, or maybe you had a baby but still are dealing with endometriosis, like just know that I'm here for you, and that you're not alone in your story. And that I feel like God has called me to share this story. And it's really hard. Like I said, I couldn't even do this live, but I knew that I had to do this and share it with you, because I just want you to know that you're not alone. And I posted what I shared today about God's goodness, and didn't just come out of nowhere. That song, Goodness of God, literally, like in my toughest moments, in the moments where I literally felt so alone, I was like, I'm never gonna get healed from this stupid disease. This is why I needed to do my makeup while I was talking, because if not, I was gonna cry the entire time. So I knew how to distract myself. But anyway, if I didn't get healed from this, like I just was almost losing hope, you know? And then I heard that song for the first time, and I just heard the words of it. And it's like, you know, all my life you have been faithful. Like, it's so true. God's been so faithful, and he's blessed me. He might not have blessed me with a child yet, but he's blessed me in so many other ways, and he's preparing me so that I can get blessed with that child, you know? And like, that song just resonates with me so much, and it's literally like my life anthem. I sing that to the top of my lungs every single time I've ever sang it. I sing it in the shower almost every single day because it's just a constant reminder for me to know that even in those roughest moments, God was there for me when no one else was. When I felt alone, when I felt like the world was just shutting me out, He was there for me, and He's shown His goodness and His faithfulness in my life. And it's just, I have to constantly reflect back on those moments, especially when I'm dealing with my period or whatever the case may be, or I'm dealing with that moment of vulnerability or sadness or whatever the case may be. I just have to reflect back on how many times God has been there for me, and that alone helps me to get through that moment. And I pray to God not to like heal me, not to, make it go away, but if anything, to just give me peace and to give me strength to overcome the pain. Because that's what I was praying for all the time, was always like, God, heal me, God, heal me, God, heal me. And I changed my perspective from God, heal me to, because He could, if He wanted to, He could heal me right now as I'm talking. But maybe that's not His plan for me right now, and that's okay. But instead, what I ask Him to do is, God, give me the peace and the strength to overcome this pain, because I can't do it alone. I literally feel like I'm about to die. I feel like I have no strength to keep on going in life. And not that I'm suicide or anything, I don't want you to think that, but just when you feel the pain, if you have endometriosis and you feel that pain, you know exactly what I mean. Like, it's like you just feel like just crawling in a little ball and not talking to anyone or seeing anything, or just being there and not doing anything. And I can't let this debilitate me. So I ask God to give me His strength, because that's the only thing that's going to get me through what I feel. So, and I promise you, every single time I pray that prayer, and I pray it with faith, knowing that He can and that He will, I just feel this sense of peace, this comfort that only God can give. And gosh, it's been hard. It's not like it's easy. It's not like I don't have moments where I still cry, but I will say that God strengthened me so much, because I couldn't even talk about it. Like, I literally would bawl just at the thought of me starting to say I have endometriosis. Like, I literally be like, I have, I couldn't even say it because it was so hard for me to grasp it. But God's just been so good and so faithful in my life, and I know that He will continue to be good and faithful in my life for the rest of my life, because His goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. And I just want to encourage you, even if you're not going through this, maybe you're going through something else, just to always reflect back on how God has been good for you. And it might be hard for you, because we as humans tend to just focus so much on the negative. But so I feel like the positive in our lives is way more than the negatives. We just zoom in and focus on that negative more, and make it more like here's the negative on a pedestal, while all the positive, there's so much of it, but it's all the way down here because it's one negative thing happened. We do that as humans. It's just our natural instinct to do that. But I just encourage you to just remember what God has done for you. Remember how He's been there for you. Even if you don't think that He's actually been there for you, He's probably used somebody to help you out in a moment where you felt alone. Maybe, you were stranded on the side of a street. Maybe you needed food. Maybe, you needed money to pay bills, whatever the case may be, sheltering, whatever it is. Just think of something that God has done for you, because I promise you there's so much good that He's done for us, because that's all He desires for us, is that goodness. And, we're going to face our battles in life, and God knows what we can and can't handle. And I feel like He gives us the most difficult, tasks sometimes to handle, and it's like, God, I can't handle this on my own. And it's because exactly that, you can't handle it on your own, and you need Him. And that's how He uses you to seek Him more and find Him more. So anyways, that is my story, my endometriosis story. I know this is such a long video, and I'm not cutting out a single thing from it. So this is raw. These are my raw emotions. This is it. If you guys have feel like you need someone to talk to, maybe you're dealing with the same thing, definitely message me, and I'd love to talk and just connect with you and let you know that you're not alone. And definitely just lots of positive vibes in the comment section. And again, if you think you might have endometriosis, get yourself checked out, and please, please, please be adamant about it. Don't let them tell you it's normal, because it's not. So I hope this video has blessed you. I love you guys so much. And thank you for hearing me out and hearing my story.